All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to today's show. My name is Spencer Walsh, this is Newsflash, and we have a great week for you, so keep it right here. So every day you are listening to the show, otherwise you are an awful person. So I am not kidding, I'm very serious. Anyway, so this is what we got for you today. First, there is a big question right now in the Trump administration. The administration implores Congress not to block military aid for Saudi Arabia. Trump's administration is furiously trying to fend off a bipartisan effort in Congress to hold American military support, please, for the deadly Saudi-led bombing campaign in Yemen as the kingdom's influential young crown prince Mohammed bin Salman arrives in Washington this week for talks with President Donald Trump. Yeah, so I wonder what he's going to think. I just don't get it. Why do we need to help them bomb innocent Yemeni children? They have plenty of money. They put their political prisoners in 5-star hotels. Why do we need to help them? It's not like we need to just bomb them in there and take them out in Saudi Arabia, but why do we need to help them? It's obvious what they're doing is absolutely awful. Why are we helping them doing it? They have plenty of money to do it on their own. Thank you very much. It's a little ridiculous. I'm sorry. Yeah, even as the State Department weighs approval of more than $1 million in new arms with the Saudis, oh my God. We just give them a huge $1 billion deal back in May, I believe. Oh my God. Air-to-air refueling, intelligence assessments, and other military advice. New restrictions on U.S. military support could increase civilian casualties. Oh, increase them? How? Are you serious with me right now? Increase civilian? Is that even possible at this point? Are we serious with this? Civilian casualties just jeopardize cooperation with our partners on counterterrorism and reduce our influence with the Saudis. Defense Secretary James Mattis said in a letter to Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky Majority Leader, if I'd gotten that letter personally, I would have read it, crumpled it up in a little ball, just like this. Oh, here I got this letter in the trash. Oh, hope that wasn't important. Was that important? Oh, let's see. It could have been important, actually. Whatever. Anyway, yeah. So pretty much the point is, even as the Saudis weigh, full disclosure, I just picked up a random piece of paper on the desk, didn't read it, just started crumpling it up. And yeah, that's always a great way to go. Yeah. But yeah, even the State Department, they're weighing the approval of new arms for the Saudis. Lawmakers are pushing for a resolution that would prevent Washington from giving the Saudis a blank check in the conflict. According to the United Nations, 10,000 civilians have killed and 40,000 have been wounded in the fighting, exacerbating one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. You may have heard of the crisis in Yemen, just children horribly disfigured. It's really children dead, the gas attack. I don't know if there actually has been gas attacks. It could have been wrong, but it could have been Syria. Sorry, but the point is there is a really bad problem out there right now, and the fact is that we are funding it indirectly. Even we're funding the people who actually do it, so it's not so much indirectly. We're one of their main funders. We help them out a lot, and the fact that it is really disturbing that this is the way it is at the moment. So, since 2015, the United States has provided, Saudi-led air campaign to Yemen with, air-to-air refueling, intelligence assessments, and other military advice. So, the Pentagon insists that all of its military aid is non-combat assistance, like advising the Saudi Air Force on adopting bombing practices that kill fewer civilians. At the same time, the defense contractor Raytheon is courting lawmakers and the Saudi State Department to sell 6,000 precision-guided munitions to the Saudi Arabian and United Arab Emirates, another member of the air campaign, and deals worth billions and billions of dollars. And here's where the corruption comes in. Guess how many of these senators have received significant legal bribes from Raytheon? My guess, it's a good portion of them, and a majority of them are probably Republicans, but there's a good chance a lot of them could be Democrats. And the fact is, that is very, very worrying when it comes to this, how important worldwide and globally this is. The U.S. needs to just get out of this. So, the U.S. government claims that it's not engaged in hostilities unless U.S. troops are on the ground being shot at by the enemy. Senator Mike Lee, a Utah Republican co-sponsor of the resolution, said on the Senate floor, "It stretches the imagination and it stretches the English language beyond its breaking point to suggest the U.S. military is not engaged in hostilities in Yemen. We need to get out. What is the point?" Mike Lee and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders have been unified on this. If you know anything about their policy position, you know that does not happen very often. Mike Lee is one of the biggest Tea Party guys out there. He is one of the biggest Tea Party guys you will ever see. And then we got the pretty much complete opposite, Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. Warren said the resolution would allow American-backed counterterrorism operations against al-Qaeda and other parts of Yemen to continue, but would ensure the United States is not giving the Saudis a blank check to bomb Yemen and worsen the humanitarian crisis, because that's what they've been doing. This is we're giving the funds right now for one of the worst humanitarian crises out there. It is enabling. It is literally enabling, as Mazie K. Hirono, a Democrat of Hawaii, says, they are enabling the Saudis to continue their battle there, and she is right about that. We're not parties to this conflict. General Joseph L. Voeltel, the head of the Pentagon Central Command, who oversees operations in the Middle East. We're not parties to this conflict. He says that, but we're helping them. We're enabling the Saudis. Hirono shot back, and she would be right about that. And the general, unfortunately, is wrong. So, yeah, there it is. Do not give Saudis any money. That should be a story developing over the next couple of weeks, and we will fill you in on that, that's for sure. As time goes on. Disturbing story in The Intercept today by Robert Wright. How the New York Times is making war with Iran more likely. And you may be wondering, well, some of the stories you often said on the show are from the New York Times. Well, that's okay with me, because I'll tell you why in just 32 seconds. After a week of all-new Newsflash episodes this Friday at 10 p.m., it's an all-new Pilots Out episode of the SWRN Game Show, I've Got It. Then, Saturday at 7 p.m., it's a special Newsflash episode live from the historic March for Our Lives on Gun Reform in Washington, D.C., with in-depth reporting on the scene. Sunday at noon, the Spencer Walsh Show is all new with Zach Lifschultz. It's a week to remember, only on the Spencer Walsh Radio Network. Alright, so yeah, once again, you may be wondering why I use New York Times on the stories if I'm about to do a story about how they're making a war with Iran more likely. That sounds pretty bad, right? Well, I would agree with you, and the fact is, I come into the stories with a pretty, what I'd like to say, strong base of political knowledge. What I do from that is, I read the story, and New York Times is generally a good provider of background knowledge, and the fact is, or more context about the story. If they get too opinionated, I will be sure to correct them. If they say something that is just, or they kind of equivocate there, I will point out, as you just saw me do with Mazie Hirono and that general, who is right and who is wrong, and based on the facts. And I will let you. I'm gonna let you know. So it's not like I'm blindly going off the opinion and rhetoric of the New York Times here. It's something that I am carefully kind of reading and regulating. So that's why, if you're wondering why I cite the New York Times, but I'm about to just do a story. Now, I'm gonna have to be reacting to this because I do want to see what their evidence is here, about their relationship with Iran. So, yeah, it's not easy to say which country America will fight in the next ill-advised war. Iran, or assuming President Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un don't hit it off their summit, North Korea, maybe even Venezuela, or if liberal Democrats, extreme liberal Democrats like Paul Begala, who actually suggested we might start bombing Russia if they have their way, maybe we'll fight Russia. Look it up. He did actually suggest we should start bombing Russia. You know, the CNN guy. He's like, it's time to consider bombing Russia. Yeah, it's just a world we're living in, folks. But yeah, it's not easy to say whether one of the major causes of the war will be the failure by many Americans, notably politicians, journalists, and think takers, and many other elites to employ a specific mental power we're all capable of employing. The power is called cognitive empathy, and it's not what you might think. It doesn't involve feeling other people's pain or even caring about their welfare. Emotional empathy is that kind of empathy which accomplishes those things. Cognitive empathy, which is sometimes called perspective taking, is a matter of seeing someone's point of view, understanding how they're processing information, how the world looks at them. Sounds unexceptional, right? It's the kind of thing you do every day. It's how you do your job. But there are at least two reasons cognitive empathy deserves more attention than it gets. First, because the failure to exercise it lies in two of the most dangerous kinds of misperceptions in international affairs: misreading a nation's military moves as offensive when the nation itself considers them defensive. For example, that could be applicable, I guess, to kind of North Korea, why they're deciding to build up a nuclear program. And I think it's very important we understand why they're doing things. I think that would help us come to a better realization about why they're doing things, and maybe we should hesitate to act. The second reason is cognitive empathy deserves more attention is that, however simple it sounds, it can be hard to exercise. Somewhat like emotional empathy, cognitive empathy can shut down or open up depending on your relationship with the friend in question, person in question, friend, rival, enemy, kin, and how you're feeling about them at the moment. And to make matters worse, there's this. In Washington, lots of money is being spent to keep us from exercising cognitive empathy. There's a lot of money flowing in this department, in the Department of War, Defense, etc., as we just discussed with